What's up, Coinaholics? It's your boy Sean with Blue Ridge Silverhound. Welcome. Today, we're going to talk about the one big cardinal sin that a lot of new collectors kind of get in the habit of doing, and kind of like, I don't know how to say this, and it's really this: eating a 24-inch hoagie while coin roll hunting. Absolutely. Nope. Actually, I'm just kidding. It's not that at all. The biggest cardinal sin when it comes to new collectors, new roll hunters, is that they heavily rely on a high-powered magnifier or microscope to determine that they have something special. No. That's not what it's all about. The big issue I see with this is that they're letting their eyes play tricks on them. There has been, over the course of many decades, if not centuries, there's been kind of like this established method of how coin collecting works and all the little subgroups and different types of ways you could collect. Believe me, if you're going to ask me, is there any really wrong way to collect coins? No, there really isn't. Up until you decide to want to sell it, and then it turns out you don't really have anything. So at this critical juncture, as a coin collector, getting into the hobby for the first time, or maybe you're already in it and you've been in it for about 3 months, and then, just over the course of the last 3 months, 2 months, 4 months, whatever, you kind of feel down because you're not finding something. Blue Ridge told me to buy me that 100 times power microscope. Get every single one of my coins underneath that thing. And the results are in some cases devastating. Now, I could talk about a really good magnifier till some of you turn blue in the face, or myself. But the best magnifier that you could possibly own is anything 10 times power or under. I have an 8 times power. I have a 10. This is a 30 right here with a light. The lights actually hasn't been working in probably 5 years. I've had this one for a while. Bought this one at a show. I swear by it. This is a means to an end. This is the final kind of like confirmation tool in my arsenal. What's the first confirmation tool in your arsenal, ladies and gentlemen? Well, it's this thing right here, okay? What I'm pointing out is your eyes. Now, I'm pointing at the actual lens on the camera because this is going to help replicate what we see without the aid of magnification. Now, we could self-magnify things, by simply, let me grab an example here. This coin is far away. For those of us that are, I guess, farsighted, Aunt Jane has to, kind of like put the book way out here to read the numbers and letters, to read it. But for those of us with like 20/20 vision, 20/15, okay, you have the ability to bring this coin up close to see the finer details of what you have here. So you can magnify this coin with your naked eye up to about 3 times power. It's kind of crazy to think, but it's doable. And you could pick up a lot of the basic features and details and all that great stuff, okay? First of all, the date, legend, motto, the design, what's on the coin, is it a specific president? And you're good as gold, all right? Getting in with your magnifier simply kind of like confirms, possibly an error that you've seen with your naked eye, or variety, things like that. And it's really cool to get in close with a 10 times power magnifier. It's like the whole world comes up to you up close. And things are just right in the world, because it's like, hey, you know what? For once, I found myself a really neat error, or I found that variety that's been eluding me for a long time. And my dog is drinking water. So what I have here is a number of just straight up errors. Very common run-of-the-mill errors that if you weren't able to see it with your naked eye, they are nothing at all. Do not take stock in having to put any one of these coins under a microscope. I've always told people microscopes are good as a kind of like really extreme confirmation device. And it's really good for taking photos, especially of varieties that you want to sell online, okay? Because there are people, that's their motivation. They want to just search through rolls of coin and then go ahead and sell them, which is totally fine, because I'm kind of like a 50-50 guy. I do that, but I also fulfill a collection. So, just kind of shooting from the hip, I'm going to start off with my most extreme example of an error. Now, I've talked about this one. It's been a while. Probably been a few years, but it's 1941 Lincoln wheat cent with an obvious detached lamination. Lamination means that the original planchet that was used to produce this coin had impurities. It was just bad quality, which you saw a lot of during the 40s and 50s. Okay, that's a foregone conclusion when it came to coins of that era. The blanks were horrible. Now, I have this within probably 4 inches away from the lens. Now, we could all see this. This is pretty obvious. If you could see this, then you have something. You'll know if you have an error or if it's damage. You know, it's going to be very apparent at that point. You could read all of the details on the coin, front and back. Everything is good in the world. Okay, there's error number 1. Error number 2 is a 1964 silver Washington quarter. Okay, now we're actually going to use our close-up on this coin here. We're going to get the coin in closer to our eye without the aid of a magnifier. It doesn't look like much on the front. 1964, some of you will probably point out that there's a little bit of a weak strike at the 6. Perhaps there was a little gob of grease there when this coin was struck. But how about the reverse? What do we see here? You don't see laminations that often on silver coins. It's pretty neat. But as you can see, there's this flip up little lamination deal here. Right there, see that? It's thin, it's very sharp, it could cut you. But you also see the flakiness of this reverse. There's been a piece here right where the ENS and states at one point fell off. Maybe post-strike is what I would imagine. But this you could see with the naked eye, no doubt about it. This is a legitimate error, and one in which you really don't have to try. And I've always told people this: if you could see an error with the naked eye, you could easily sell it. This coin right here is probably a $10 coin, which is what, 3 times silver melt for something like that? So that's another example. So right here, now this one right here really did cut me. 1945 Lincoln wheat cent. See this thing sticking out here? This actually cut me right here when I was pulling the change out of my pocket. There was a lamination on this, and this is actually a coin that I received in change at one point. But this lamination piece right here was folded down and it snagged in my pocket. And when I pulled all my change out, I felt this little stinger right here. And it made me bleed. My obsession made me draw blood. There you go. This you could see with the naked eye. And therefore, it's a worthy kind of like pull from change or a roll of coin. All right, keep that in mind. So we have some here with a smaller degrees of errors. 1946S, and I've labeled this here for you as a strike through debris. Some sort of debris was on the coin before the strike. This one I saw with the naked eye, okay, especially under good lighting. You see this little void here at the bottom of Lincoln's bust. Okay, there was something there. And then after the strike, that little piece of debris fell off, leaving this depression right here. You would just simply refer to this as a general struck through error, and then all will be good. This right here is a pretty nice BU red mint state 1946S that I would be happy to say is an error. Just right from looking at it with my eye, using the magnifier helps clarify it a little bit more. This one right here, now I mislabeled this one as a split die crack. There's no such thing as that. 1958D, which has a appearance of a crack that goes across here. And what it simply is, can you remember what I just said like 2 minutes ago? Laminations are very easy to find during the 40s and 50s. This is the start of a lamination. It's a very shallow lamination. You can't, I mean, it's flaked and cracked enough that it looks bisecting in nature. But I saw this as I was going through many Lincoln wheat cents. I went through a 5,000 count bag a few years back and saw this one with my naked eye. It was not fully dressed. All right, so the next one that we have here is a 1944S reverse struck through, but I firmly believe that this is probably something else after doing a little bit more research. So there's this impression right here. I don't know if you guys can see it. After doing some research, this is actually a die gouge. So it's possibly a feeder finger damaged die or coin. Might be, I don't know. But that impression generally would come from the die. I saw this with the naked eye and I pulled it out, and this is up for debate. I haven't done quite enough research on that. I found that one probably 4 years ago. 1940 Jefferson nickel, clipped planchet. As you can see, this little crescent shaped cutout right here on the top of the coin. This is really easy to see with the naked eye. If I pulled this out, you could still see it. It's very apparent, and you know it's not damaged. If you're knowledgeable in what you're looking for with clip planchets, you'll know that the Blakesley effect plays a huge part in determining if you do have a legitimate clip. All right, so every single one of these errors I'm showing you are on the minor side. Typically, they would sell anywhere from $1 to $2 to as high as, I probably have an example of maybe one coin in here that would be worth more than $20, $25. But these are all coins that are generally overlooked simply because they're skipped over. 1957D with some really heavy die filing lines under the bust right here. You see all these filing lines? It looks like a crazy looking error right there. You come across these very seldomly, but I found this one without even using a magnifier. I saw that, I'm like, ooh, I know exactly what that is. And sure enough, we have a really nice error right there. Someone went a little overzealous with the the file at the mint. All right, so here's another one. Another fantastic example. 1958D. That exhibits a pretty nice lamination right here. It's not big, but it's a very uniform, very nice, very clean coin. Again, yeah, you can see that real well with the naked eye. Found this coin roll hunting, 1999p. It looks pretty weak. The strike, lots of grease was on the die previous to the strike, and that's why you have a lot of weakness. Jefferson does not have a nose on this coin. That probably means he won't get any sort of allergies when that time comes. And then finally, a coin that you probably wouldn't even think would be an error, but a 1943S. You do have an interior die break on this one. It's actually on the reverse and with a crack that goes straight through the U, and the top of the E is a die chip. I don't know if you guys can see that. Right there. It's different on steel cents instead of copper. Because of the softness or the hardness of each one of those, it kind of changes the dynamics of what a die chip or a die break would look like from a copper coin to one that is made and crafted in steel. So those are the premier examples. Now let me tell you guys why a stronger magnifier is more acceptable. Because automatically I'm gonna get kind of like some of this response to the effect of, well, in order to see some of those doubled dies and RPMs, you need a stronger magnifier. Yes, to a certain point. You could just as easily get away with something that is 8 or 10 power magnifier to take a look at every single one of the major cherry picker's guide errors and varieties in RPMs, transitionals, double dies. Okay, don't be fooled that you think that you need that expensive Celestron magnifier or microscope rather, so that way you could see something that, you know, oh, you have to see this only in 80 times power. That's not going to fly in today's landscape of numismatics. But again, to each their own. Someone can come across many coins that they've collected throughout their lifetime in which every single anomaly on those coins can only be seen with 50 times power and up. Just don't sell it. Just don't sell it. And you'd be okay. But in any event, that's why I wanted to talk about that little tidbit. I've had this rush of emails of folks sending me images, and I want to thank you guys, by the way. And I was like, you know, these folks who had found these coins, I'm like, yeah, I see this. Don't you see it? And they sent me like a really ultra up close image. I'm like, what power did you use? Oh, I have this USB microscope, and I just dialed it up all the way to the top. And I'm like, if you need to use that kind of power, it's nothing, okay? Because coins and the rudimentary way that they are produced, they're all not going to be perfect. There's going to be little die chips and little kind of like, you know, unevenness about certain things about these coins. And we all have to be really aware of the human error nature of coins. Coins are not perfect crafted items. They're never going to be. Some are a little off center, you know, there's misalignment, there's all sorts of things that go on. But you keep that in mind, okay? And you look for just the coins that you have control over with your eyes and no aid of any sort of magnifier, then you could easily sell some of these coins for $1, $2, $10, $5, $20, $50, you name it. The sky can be the limit. Just don't limit yourself to what you could see under a microscope. Because, oh, and by the way, no eating while you're coin hunting or play with your coins. That would be a close second cardinal sin that I would say definitely warrants a little bit of discussion. All I have to say about that is I was at a coin show once, and usually these coin shows have like a deli or some little coffee shop attached to it. And yeah, just watching these folks go through like coins and stuff while they're sitting there licking their fingers after eating their buffalo wings, kind of like, oh geez, it's not what you would consider to be the right thing to do. But anyways, that's gonna be it, guys. Sorry to keep it so long-winded and all that great stuff. Yeah, it's a fun thing. It's a fun thing to go through coins, even finding some of the most minor of errors. The important thing is just using your eyes and training your eyes to find and identify certain errors. If you need help identifying what the legitimate errors are in coin collecting, check out the website errorreference.com. It's error/ref.com, and bookmark it. That's going to be the best tool. It's like the dictionary of the coin world. It's amazing. I'm your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge Silverhound. Like, share, subscribe. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next one, Coinaholics. We are discovering together. Woohoo! Wet Willy. Not really. You guys take care, and I'll see you on the next one.